Thunderbolts post-credit scene, ending explained. This one's about 18 minutes, 19 minutes. It's not that long.
Welcome back to New Rockstars. I'm Eric Boss, and this is an explanation and breakdown of the ending and post-credit scenes for Marvel Studios' Thunderbolts, including, finally, what the hell the asterisk means. Spoilers before I continue. Details about all this stuff began to leak way too early, and I just want to give you fair warning that I will be spoiling everything. Not just the ending and post-credit scenes, but also the full movie plot, because you kind of need to know those details to properly understand this ending. But be sure to check out nerdriot.shop, where we have the greatest Thunderbolts-inspired designs. I'm wearing the Admiral. Spoiler warning. Okay, Thunderbolts ends by rebranding this team as the New Avengers, a squad on the cover of several publications in the Wheaties box, and now feuding with the real Avengers led by Captain America Sam Wilson, and this group witnesses the Fantastic Four crossing over into this universe. Woohoo! So how do we get here? Well,
now that I really think about it, since that post-credit scene was put in the movie, right? That means the Fantastic Four lost inside their movie. That means Galactus destroyed their universe or their planet. So that probably guarantees a great ending for that movie too.
Again, spoilers. Yelena Belova works for Val, who, as CIA director, still has ties to the Shadow Ops organization called the Ox Group, and she's now facing impeachment over that. Bucky Barnes is now a congressman, and at Val's charity event, he makes contact with her assistant Mel and plots to take Val down. Val assigns Yelena to take out Ghost Ava Starr, who she says is trying to rob her vault in the desert, but once there, Yelena realizes she's part of a four-way assassination plot with Ava and John Walker and Taskmaster. Ava shoots Taskmaster in the head and she dies. But this brawl bumps a crate containing Bob, a really nice dude with spotty memories and a hinted dark side of his psyche called the Void. When Yelena and John touch Bob's hand, they experience visions of their most shameful memories. They escape the facility and Bob gets shot, but discovers he has superpowers. And they actually learn that Bob was part of Project Sentry, Val's program to try to create a super soldier as powerful as all the Avengers rolled into one that she can control. Val takes Bob back to Avengers Tower, which is now completing renovation to become Sentry's watchtower, and helps him hone his powers. But the Red Guardian picks up the group in the desert with his limo service, and we learn that Yelena's youth soccer team was called the Thunderbolts, and this group starts casually calling themselves that. Bucky saves them from pursuing Ox forces and enlists them to stop Val. Val reintroduces Bob as Sentry, who easily overpowers this group on the penthouse level of Avengers Tower. The crew feels defeated, but then Bob turns on Val, and his dark entity, the Void, takes over and begins voiding people into terrifying shadows while consuming the entire city into shadow. Yelena enters this void, which takes the form of endless shame rooms based on her trauma, and she finds Bob stuck in his own memory of one of the times his father. Welcome back to New Rockstars. I'm Eric Boss, and this is an explanation.
Hello?
Bob stuck in his own memory of one of the times his father abused his mother downstairs. So the Thunderbolts all get in there to help break Bob free, returning back to the first moment he received a serum. Bob beats his shadow self, but Yelena and the others hug and restrain him, and that restraint and that love are enough to get Bob to regain control of his body and his mind, curing the city of the Void Shadow and bringing all the victims back, even a little girl. Val tricks the Thunderbolts into a press conference where she names them the New Avengers. Yelena whispers to Val, "We own you." And we hear Alan Silvestri's Avengers theme music kicking in. Director Jake Schreier said that to offset any skepticism or confusion the viewing audience may feel in this moment by this movie ending with declaring this lineup as the New Avengers, Kevin Feige actually recommended a credits montage of headlines showing the media of this world mocking them for that, to give any viewers like that time to laugh along and time to adjust to the idea, and by the end of the sequence to kind of defend this group as the rightful New Avengers. So these end credits, designed by the amazing design studio Perception, include various headlines from real-world publications. We see an article titled "New Avengers? The World Holds Its Breath."
They literally got 3 Captain Americas, Ghost, and Black Widow. If it wasn't for Sentry, they wouldn't be able to beat nothing.
What comes next? And a lift out quote, "Not my Avengers." One headline that just says, "Nope." We see the cover of the Hollywood Reporter with the Thunderbolts / New Avengers fighting. One article titled, "Is New Always Better?" We see an op-ed by David Brooks, who is a real-life New York Times writer.
Youngblood.
I like him. We see a Rolling Stone cover showing the 4 of them posed like Queen in the famous Bohemian Rhapsody cover pose. We see a snarky New York Post headline, "Be-Vengers." We see a headline, "The Huh?" heard around the world. We see a cover of The Republic, with art showing Red Guardian like King Kong on the Empire State Building. We see cover art of John Walker sadly riding his bent shield like a saddle with no horse under it. We see Yelena in a Rosie the Riveter style pose with "We can do it." We see the New York Times cover art of the new Avengers on a construction beam with the city behind them. We see an article titled "How Will They Lead?" showing the new Avengers pose like the famous painting of Washington crossing the Delaware, and Yelena's little guinea pig that she found in Kuala Lumpur is on the bow of this boat. And lastly, we see Red Guardian holding a flower out to a little girl, maybe the one he saved before she was voided into a shadow, which is an homage to the famous moment in the 1931 Frankenstein film, which is a bit ironic considering David Harbour voices Eric Frankenstein in Creature Commandos for DC. The Thunderbolts title is ripped away, showing the new Avengers. So the asterisk all along was a placeholder for this inevitable team name. So the mid-credit scene shows Alexei in the cereal aisle of a grocery store. His earlier stated dream of making it to the Wheaties box has finally come true. The box shows the new Avengers with John Walker in his new suit with a beret, Yelena, Bucky, Ava, and Red Guardian taking the photo shoot the most serious with a flex pose. Alexei reaches past a woman shopping and says, "Wow, so many choices. What is this? Oh, Wheaties. Toasted whole grain wheat flakes, whole grain vitamins, actually great for kids, huh?" And then he awkwardly smiles and puts the box next to his face. The woman says thanks, and she takes the box and pushes her cart away, leaving the box on a stack, not taking it. He calls after her, "That's me on the box!" And then Starship's "Nothing's Gonna Stop Us Now" kicks in. The second and more important of the stingers is the post-credit scene, and it might have been spoiled for you if you were looking closely at the music section of the credits and saw Michael Giacchino's Fantastic Four theme credited. We cut to the new Avengers' new A logo, and 14 months later, as this A on the door twists counterclockwise to open to the renovated penthouse level of Avengers Tower or the Watchtower. The new Avengers enter the room, and Yelena says, "But we are the Avengers. The government said so. How does Sam Wilson not understand that?" And Bucky says, "Well, he does have the shield." John Walker says, "Well, I got a shield too," and he and Bucky start to argue about it, whether it's an actual shield or just a shitty shield. While John does still have his bent shield that was molded into this taco shape by Sentry, he wears a new suit with brighter colors and a military beret, similar to the one we saw him wearing in The Falcon and the Winter Soldier, but now blue. That actually might have been inspired by the light mockery Yelena and Ava gave him in the back of the truck about his little hat. Bucky also has a new look, sporting a new red star outline on his sleeve, recalling the red star of his earlier version of the Winter Soldier arm before he got the vibranium one. Yelena stays on topic. "If he puts together a team and the team is called the Avengers, then who are the real Avengers?" And John Walker says, "That's a question the internet has been asking, and judging by the very nasty memes I have read, they don't think that it's us." Yelena asks Bucky, "Weren't you going to talk to him?" And Bucky says he already did, and it went poorly. John Walker leans back.
This is a bad Avengers team.
I don't know what any of these buttons do. I didn't mark any of them. Yelena is still on the question of Sam Wilson. "You know he filed for copyright of the name? We're losing credibility." And Ava says, "Of which we had very little to begin with." Yelena says, "And now there's this huge space crisis, and no one is telling us about it." John Walker says, "We're running out of space already? It's impossible. This building is enormous." And Yelena snaps, "Outer space!" And then she speaks to her AI device saying, "Run threat analysis. I want the full report." Then Alexei walks up wearing a heavily sponsored jumpsuit, NASCAR style, with brands like Heineken, Barbasol, Tide, Wheaties, AM/PM, and Peloton.
Adidas.
These, I believe, are all actual sponsors who have done product integrations with Marvel Studios releases. Alexei says, "Hello, team. I heard about Sam Wilson. He is dumb litigious man, but I am smart. I'm smart man. I have smart solve. Avengers with a Z. There's no copyright." Yelena just says, "No." And Alexei goes on, "It's soft too. If you're like bottom of baby seal, you want to savor that?" And Yelena just says, "I don't want to feel bottom of baby seal butt." Alexei says he made jumpsuits for everyone, including Bob, reading over in the corner with what looks like a milkshake. And then an alert goes off as a voice says, "Unidentified craft entering orbit." Bucky tells Yelena to pull up a satellite image, and she says to do so, and to fire up the jets. Yes, they have jets. Alexei says that they wouldn't need to fire up the jets if they had a Sentry who could fly, and Bob apologizes, saying, "Sorry guys, I can't be the Sentry without the other side. I did the dishes though." John says, "What were you gonna do? Just like ride Bob into the sky?" And Alexei says, "Yes, can you imagine the Red Guardian riding on top of Sentry, cresting over clouds?" And Yelena just mutters, "This is why we are the Avengers with a Z." And the voice alert returns. Flight image populated, extra-dimensional ship entering atmosphere. Alexei asks, "Extra-dimensional, what does that mean?" And we hear the low thumping. beginning of the middle section of Michael Giacchino's Fantastic Four score. A satellite image shows a rocket speeding toward Earth
Yo, that
from
was
space.
cool,
It
though.
rotates, and on the hull, we see the bright blue 4 logo of the Fantastic Four, with the main horn theme from
cool.
Giacchino's score kicking in. Yelena observes this, not sure what to make of it. Yes, it's finally here. The second post-credit scene was actually directed by the Russo brothers, who are currently in production for Avengers Doomsday. Similar to the Russos directing the post-credit scene of 2015's Ant-Man, which is really just a scene from the next movie, Civil War, that they were directing with Anthony Mackie, Sebastian Stan, and Chris Evans. This really is the kind of old school approach of post-credit scenes that will actually appear in some form in Avengers Doomsday. But obviously, this is also tying in with Fantastic Four First Steps, which is coming sooner this July. So let's start with Fantastic Four. The latest trailer seems to suggest that the Fantastic Four might be faced with letting their Earth be destroyed in that alternate universe. A shot in the trailer shows what looks like Earth blowing up as this same Fantastic Four ship faces that destruction. And we see a shot of Sue Storm on some ship standing up with tears in her eyes watching something. The tone of that recent trailer suggests that this might be a classic disaster movie in which part of the spectacle will be seeing exactly how this utopian society inevitably gets wrecked. It's easy to keep track of physical things like your phone, your wallet, and your keys. Your pocket sold easy to hands-free returns of data through they've done. Data broker site. Get code Rockstars using his mechanism. Best reason I can think of that he does that, as opposed to staying larger than the planet and using his mechanisms on his ship Tatu to destroy the planet and turn it into matter and energy that he can consume, is that this guy is looking for something, and that something we're pretty sure is Reed Richards
Franklin
and Sue
Richards.
Storm's baby Franklin Richards, a reality warper, an Omega level mutant with an important connection to Galactus in more recent comics. Given the Abraham Isaac choice of giving up a son or letting the entire Earth be destroyed, you can imagine this being an impossible situation for the whole family. They might actually leave their world behind to die. Now, we don't know for sure if the Fantastic Four and baby Franklin are on this ship in the Thunderbolts post-credit scene. Like, it could just be Herbie the robot piloting it, bringing a message, or the ship could also be bringing additional refugees from that universe. We just don't know yet. We also know from decoding Reed Richards' chalkboard in that trailer that his equations prove him to be seeking a solution in the multiverse. We see a Penrose diagram, which in theoretical physics is a way to conceive of bending a space-time around black holes and a possible way to connect to a parallel universe. Another diagram depicts a wormhole that Reed labeled as another universe. You can also see Einstein's field equations, which are another way of expressing space-time. Many have interpreted this as a clue
All that
that
just
Reed
roll
will
like
create
gibberish.
his multiverse bridge, a way for him to commune with the Council of Reeds, which could include the past Reed Richardses we've seen in other films. But in this instance, I think it's either Reed trying to open a portal to trap Galactus in another universe, or failing that, a rift through which he and his family escape to seek a new Earth. And that could be what we are seeing here, the Fantastic Four's arrival to the Earth of the 616 universe. But I will say, I would just be a bit surprised if Marvel spoils its own ending to its next film with the Thunderbolts post-credit scene and its most recent trailer. So again,
Right.
it is worth considering that we might be seeing something else here. Like, First Steps could end with the family using the ultimate nullifier to scare off Galactus, as they do in the comics. That actually could be the device sketched on Reed's blackboard that I spotted in the trailer. And then, to protect the Earth they come from, they might still have to leave it with their reality warper baby. With the Russo brothers directing this scene, it's definitely a setup for Avengers Doomsday. We know from the Avenged Chair's March 26th announcement that both the Fantastic Four and the Thunderbolts are returning for Doomsday. In this scene, Yelena mentions the huge space crisis that other authorities are not telling the Thunderbolts about. I'm assuming that the space crisis is an incursion rift in nearby space, either one created by the Fantastic Four from the other side, or one building on the rift that brought Monica Rambeau to the X-Men universe in the Marvels, or maybe both. Jonathan Hickman's Time Runs Out storyline that leads to Secret Wars 2015 begins with the alternate Earth appearing red in the sky over the planet over Wakanda. Avengers Doomsday
Ain't that
could
Secret
open with a
Wars,
similar
though?
visual, but with the butts of two alternate Earths appearing in space over us, the Fantastic Four Earth and the X-Men Earth. The Doomsday Chair's announcement also confirmed that the OG X-Men are returning. Kelsey Grammer Beast, Patrick Stewart Professor X, Ian McKellen Magneto, James Marsden Cyclops, Rebecca Romaine Mystique, and Alan Cumming Nightcrawler. Maybe more of them. I think they are in the Earth 10005 universe, and that's the universe we saw in the Marvel's post-credit scene, the universe Monica Rambeau ended up in after passing through an extra-dimensional rift in space. Now, why are we 14 months later specifically? We know Thunderbolts takes place after the events of Captain America Brave New World because Val references the president turning into Red Hulk, and we see the damage Red Hulk did to the Washington Monument being repaired in this movie. Captain America Brave New World was set in April 2027. Thunderbolts would be a couple months after that, maybe summer 2027, so Doomsday seems to be set in fall 2028. I suppose 14 months is enough time for the public to form opinions about the new Avengers and for Sam Wilson's Avengers to rally. I really like the new logo of the New Avengers, with the crossbar of the A striking through the hairline like a spike, and the fact that the New Avengers got enough funding from Val to redesign this penthouse level of the tower to have this blast door, making it more secure than it was when just an elevator from the ground level would open up right into the penthouse. And yes, we also heard a mention of jets that they have. They have access to some kind of Quinjet. While Val was trying to resume construction to make it Sentry's watchtower, you could say that she moved a bunch of the Battle of New York relics from the charity event into the penthouse level, including Loki's scepter and Chitauri weapons. I assume from that she might have poured all of her Ox Group resources into fortifying this tower. And while this base has voice commands and satellite links, Yelena implies that they're still out of the loop with interplanetary threats, which suggests a political division between the rival Avengers teams. Val, who likely still runs the CIA, or maybe 14 months later she might have ascended into higher office, and then Nick Fury, head of Saber, who keeps his eye on interplanetary threats, and I think he would back Sam Wilson's group of Avengers and feed his intel only to them. Captain America Brave New World did end with Sam Wilson feeling tasked to rebuild the Avengers lineup. First on that list is Joaquin Torres, Falcon. Other names from the Avenged chairs who make sense to be on Sam Wilson's team: Thor, Ant-Man Scott Lang, Shang-Chi, and pending official confirmations of these actors, Doctor Strange, Peter Parker, and Carol Danvers. We also know the Wakandans and Wakanda adjacent characters from this Earth will be in Doomsday as well: Black Panther Shuri, M'Baku, and Namor. But what did Bucky mean when he said that his chat with Sam Wilson went poorly? Surely they went through enough together in the Falcon the Winter Soldier to be past their move your seat up days, and Sam's pep talk in Brave New World was the sweetest moment of that film. So what changed since then? Well, the answer is probably Bob. Imagine it. Sam and Thor and Doctor Strange would probably demand Bucky turn over Bob, considering how dangerous Sentry and the Void are. But Steve Rogers refused to turn Bucky in during Civil War, and I think Bucky would never turn in a misunderstood super soldier freak, especially sweet Bob. I think that is what's at the center of the Avengers versus New Avengers conflict. Bob is why Sam's Avengers haven't already tried to retake the tower after 14 months. If the New Avengers have laid claim to Avengers Tower, what base of operations is Sam Wilson's Avengers team using? Doctor Strange's Sanctum Sanctorum? I've also theorized that they could have built an adamantium fortified base inside of Celestial Island.
Sentry would obliterate half of them
the Progenitor into their Avengers Mountain base in the comics. Kevin Feige has confirmed that these various groups, including the OG X-Men, will come together to fight Doctor Doom and Avengers Doomsday. We also know that things are headed to Battleworld, a continent of stitched together broken universes created by Doctor Doom, and Sentry is going to play a big role. Thunderbolts director Jake Schreier suggested Sentry's power set will be important to Doomsday, and Sentry is famous in Marvel Comics as one of the deadliest superheroes, a guy who beat Galactus to a standstill and ripped Ares in half. Sentry's probably gonna rip Deadpool in half in Doomsday, right? Now, we still don't know yet what original story the Russos have in mind for their take on Doctor Doom and Doomsday. Only the 4 words: new mask, same task. That task, we have assumed, is to build a suit of armor around the world, but in a different way. We have to assume that the plot will connect to anchor beings, a concept introduced in Deadpool and Wolverine, and the search for anchor beings of each universe. The being whose death triggers the death of that universe. Wolverine was the anchor being of the X-Men universe. Maybe Franklin Richards, or maybe Galactus or Shalaval Silver Surfer could be the anchor being of the Fantastic Four universe, and we're gonna see who the anchor being of the 616 universe is, or was. Look, there's a lot of information here, and we're gonna be exploring all this stuff further in the coming weeks and months. Our Easter egg breakdown of this movie is coming to New Rockstars tomorrow. Get 20% off Delete Me consumer plans when you go to joindeleteme.com/rockstars and use promo code Rockstars at checkout. That's joindeleteme.com/rockstars and use code Rockstars. Thank you, Delete Me, for sponsoring this video. Comment down below with your thoughts, and a big thanks to one of our YouTube members, Cameron, who supports us at the executive producer level. And if you want to support us, you can just hit that little join button down below. Please and thank you. Follow me at EA Voss and subscribe to all the channels in the New Rockstars network for breakdowns and news coverage.
Okay, all right. Thank you very much. That was a good video. All right, that's the end of that. I'll see you next time.